Are you willing to show up in the messiness and the fear and all of that to reach people? There are so many people who are scrolling right now who are desperate for hope. They're desperate for life. They're desperate for a message that's going to set them free from everything that they're in right now. And we have the opportunity as leaders to use our voice through text, through images, through video, through Zoom calls, through podcasting. As messy as it is, it doesn't matter because people need hope right now.
Everybody, welcome to the Live, Love, Lead podcast, a podcast designed to help you live, love, and lead well. I'm your host, April Nicole Scipio. So glad that you decided to join me today. I'm super excited to introduce you to a friend of mine, Heather Parady, who has an amazing online community, and I'll let her tell you more about that. And so, Heather, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I love your energy. You're the best. So it's super cool being here. I'm Heather, and I lead Unconventional Leaders. I facilitate Unconventional Leaders. I feel like I'm a learner, student there more than anything else, but it's fun.
Awesome. And I got introduced to you. We have a mutual friend, Leona, who's amazing, and I'm sure I'll have her on the podcast at some point. But when she introduced me to your group, what really stood out to me is just the way that you showed up, your authentic self, for the community. And so when I thought about authentic leadership, you were honestly one of the first people I thought about. So when you think about this word authenticity, what does that mean? Like, do you resonate with that? Like, you're like, yeah, I feel like I'm authentic in my group, or is it just so natural for you that it goes unnoticed by you sometimes?
Sure. So you said authentic leadership, and I think being authentic, there's a disconnect between that and leadership. So if I'm authentic, is that leading, right? And of course, there's a million directions we could go with that, and there's not a blanket statement for it. But I think for me, the connection that I had to start making was that leaning into my natural personality, the way that I viewed the world was serving and was helping. And there was a form of leadership in that I needed to embrace, as opposed to trying to show up in a way that I thought made sense, or that other people, modeling what other people were doing exactly. And I think there's a little bit of a pressure there. The word leader is kind of heavy, and I don't think a lot of creative people initially identify with that word because they think, I don't have a boardroom. I don't wear suits. I talk with a slur or say y'all too much or whatever it may be. But when you think about just general impact, people connect with people. They buy into humanity more than they do perfection. And so the more that we can allow humanity to seep through our brands and our messages and embrace that, as opposed to like rejecting it, not only does it feel good, right? It feels a little bit better because you don't feel like that weight on you, but also too, it does end up serving the right people that you're called to serve, because that's what they need to see more of, right?
Yeah, I love that, because sometimes people, when you say they don't consider themselves as leaders, and I tell everyone I meet, you are a leader, because everyone has some level of influence. And it's like when you give yourself permission to actually be who you are, then you're right. You will connect with the people you're supposed to connect with, and you will lead them in a very authentic way. Right. And I really feel like when you're authentic, then the people that you lead, they feel more at ease, and they feel like they can be authentic. Because that's what I noticed, like in your group, Unconventional Leaders, not just you, but I feel like everyone there, I feel like they're giving me who they are. Sure. But I love it because I feel like you kind of lead the way for that.
Well, thanks. I try to. I have to check myself on it a lot. I mean, there's a lot of, I was just in an interview a minute ago talking about, how real FOMO is, and how sometimes you feel like, well, if I'm not jumping on this bandwagon or that, I'm missing out, or I'm doing something wrong, as opposed to really getting still with yourself and gut checking and saying, do I feel aligned with this? Am I proud of the way that I'm showing up? Is this real? And nobody can answer that for you. No program or course or whatever, like that's something internal that you've got to get really aligned in with God and just be like, okay, am I being aligned to who I'm called to be? I mean, that's something I think I know for me, I have to check myself on constantly of why I'm doing things. What's the reason behind it? Am I doing this because I'm afraid of missing out, or this is because this is something that's authentic to me?
Yeah. What would you say to someone who they want to be authentic, but they're so used to wearing that mask because of wanting the approval of other people, or maybe there's just some sort of fear there, but they just don't know how to take that bold step of showing up their authentic selves?
What's the cost of you not, right? So, you know, think about your own mental health, right? Like, are you happy right now? Like, for real? Are you really happy? Like, are you proud of the way you're showing up? And a lot of times, you know, we look at results like, oh, if I show up authentically and nobody watches or nobody hits like or nobody joins or whatever like that. Think about like your own internal state. I think there's a measure of success there that we really need to pay attention to. Like, are you happy right now? And do you feel free? And for me, feeling free is super important. There's so many times in my life where I felt very trapped and like out of control of my own circumstances and situations. And sometimes we aren't in control of our situations, right? But one thing that we do have power over is the way that we show up with what we have. And so my question is, what is the cost of you not? This life is so stinking short, and more often than not, people say that regret is, you know, one of their biggest things as they get older. Of, I wish I wouldn't have cared so much what people thought. There was actual study with that when they went into nursing homes and surveyed, you know, those who were literally on their deathbed. What was it? They said, I wish I wouldn't have worried so much what people thought of me. And if we look at our own behavior, this is what's interesting. And I was talking about this yesterday. I'm a runner, right? So I run all the time. And whenever I go and I see someone else who's running and you can tell they're struggling, right? Like maybe they just run a couple of feet and they stop, or a couple more feet and they stop. My respect for them is so high because I'm like, good for you for trying, right? Now, when I go over to the weights section, I'm very intimidated by the weights because I'm not buff. I have horrible form. I'm embarrassed at how much or how little I can lift. And so I'm sitting there thinking like, all these people are just judging me for how stupid I look over here in the weight section. But if I think about the way I view someone who's starting off, why do I assume that these other weightlifting people, they might be thinking, look at her, at least she's trying, good for her for starting off, right? We're so hard on ourselves when we're so gracious with other people. And more often than not, there are some interesting people in the world, but I would say the majority of people are clapping and cheering when you put yourself out there, right? Than judging you. We are judging ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true. When we think about leadership, you know, we have to be able to lead ourselves well before we can lead other people. So I think when you said, like, don't be so hard on yourself, it's like, if you can be happy with who you are and what you're doing and the way you're showing up,
right?
That's where it really needs to start.
Amen.
You know? So I love that so much. What about people sometimes say, you know, I want to be authentic, but I don't want the world to know everything that's going on in my life. And, you know, I think there's a struggle there of being authentic. Doesn't mean you have to, like, everyone doesn't have to know all of your struggles. And then some people think, if I don't share all my struggles, I'm not being authentic. Like, where's the balance between being authentic or maybe some level of vulnerability or transparency, in your opinion?
I think there's so many parts of my life I don't show online, and I've been intentionally getting a little bit more, you know, specific about, you know, some things within my family just for their own privacy and all of that. And there's no right or wrong. There's no judgment with, you know, it's everybody's own personal conviction, but I don't show a lot of stuff because of other people's privacy. But I think I go back to my counseling roots. When in mental health therapy, what they teach you is it's this thing called disclosure, right? So if I'm sitting in a therapy session with someone and I want to share part of myself with them, where that becomes permissible is when it is being stated so that it will help someone else and not just to say it. And so I think when the authenticity piece and leadership kind of really play hand in hand is, am I posting this? Is there a lesson behind it that serves someone and can be a service to someone? Or is this just me throwing up on the internet airing my dirty laundry, which serves nobody, right? And again, that's a self-awareness check. And I've been guilty of it too, of just sometimes using it as a space. But honestly, like as someone who's building a business or a brand, and this is just me, I know there are people who are different, that's fine. I don't see anything online that's personal anymore. I don't see my personal Facebook page, my personal Instagram, all that stuff. I have to express myself in other ways, right? Because when I'm online, I put that hat on of like, okay, I'm here to serve and show up for people, and what I post and what I say, and I fail at it all the time. I'm learning, but it's within the lens of service. And sometimes being super authentic about what you're going through is serving someone. But sometimes when we are authentic, we're using other people to throw up on, right? So that's just an intention check, I think.
Oh, that's so good. Everything we share should be to serve people. Like when you said that, I'm like, yes, because if we live our lives in a way to serve people,
right,
then there's no struggle there as far as if you're sharing or not sharing because of your intent. That is so good. I love that. That's so good. Heather, just give us some final words about just how does someone grow and become a better leader in the space of being authentic? How does someone, what do you do?
I'm passionate about this one. You just show the stinking up. Like you show up. Okay? Like the internet is so scary and so interesting, and it's exhausting. It's completely exhausting. Like I'm just going to keep it real. Okay. However, when we look at it as a tool to reach people, there's nothing else as powerful as these tools. And I empathize and understand the terrifyingness, I made up that word, of it all. I still get nervous. I still feel weird. I still second guess myself. I nitpick everything apart at times. But again, we connect back to that service mentality. Are you willing to show up in the messiness and the fear and all of that to reach people? There are so many people who are scrolling right now who are desperate for hope. They're desperate for life. They're desperate for a message that's going to set them free from everything that they're in right now. And we have the opportunity as leaders to use our voice through text, through images, through video, through Zoom calls, through podcasting. As messy as it is, it doesn't matter because people need hope right now. Yeah. And whatever way you deliver that hope, whatever it is, get over the insecurity because somebody's scrolling, and even if it's one person, needs it. So we've got to get out of our own way and start sharing what we got to share.
Oh, that's so good. So good. Get out of our way and just share. It's not about us. It is not about us.
If it's about me, I'd be laying on the couch right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I would. I'm not playing with you.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Heather, I appreciate you so much. You're so fun.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful that we got connected.
Me too.
And so Me too. I'm sure that everyone, how can someone, if they're like, oh, I want to check out this Unconventional Leaders group, tell us how to get connected with you.
Sure. So it's Unconventional Leaders on Facebook, and really we're a spinoff of the show. The show's the big driver of everything. It's wherever you listen to podcasts, Unconventional Leaders, but we chat about things in the group in Facebook.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you, Heather, so much for being here.
It was fun. I loved it.
Guys, if you enjoyed this episode, and I know that you did, or it inspired you in any way, make sure to share this on social media and tag me at April Nicole Sitt. Also, make sure you get connected with Heather. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And if you are not already a part of the Live Lovely community on Facebook, make sure to head over there. We're a group of women, and we are building authentic friendships centered around God's word, and we want to invite you to be a part of that. I will see you guys next week. Until then, go live, love, and lead well. Have a great day.